away from that minimum wage. Funny how money be bringing out people who never remember the time that they paid. Count it up on my two hands. If you wanna talk, I need two bands. I don't play.
What the chuck is going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode out here. I really appreciate all your support. I want to give a shout out to my haters, of course. You know who you are. Thanks for sending me messages, and thanks for keeping up my support and keeping me encouraged. I appreciate that. To all my friends out there, I really appreciate all your support too. For everyone that's been sending me different articles and different pieces of information, man, keep that coming, because I can use it. Even if I've already seen it, it might remind me to use it again, so I appreciate that. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video, and smash that like button so I can get this information out to more people. I'm going to jump right into this, guys, with no hesitation, because I know you guys have been waiting patiently for this video. So the other day I posted something on my Facebook that had to do with the letters BG, and it equaled a whole slew of other different letters and stuff that had a whole lot of meaning. So let me pull that up real quick. So the other day I posted this on my Facebook. BG equals BMGF, WHO, CDC, GS, RF, and all the other numbers and letters to down below. So I have linked these all together, and I'm going to try to go over as many as I can during this video. The ones that I don't talk about during this video, I will be sure to talk about in the next. But anyway, let's get right into it. So BG has become the new face of the coronavirus fight. If you all don't know what BG means, Bill Gates. I know you all have seen how he has challenged President Trump to do a shutdown of the entire country. Now, I don't know about you guys. Nowhere during my research did I ever see anything that talks about Bill Gates being an engineer. He never finished college. He is not a doctor, not an epidemiologist, not a virologist, and several other things. But what he was at one point, I don't know if you guys remember back in the late 90s, where he fought with the U.S. government for an antitrust lawsuit. Now, he was in charge of Microsoft at that time, and he had built the company into a huge monopoly. And they went after him because he obviously wasn't to be trusted, because he was talking about using people's online personas against them and storing information about people. Anyway, not to get all off in that to throw everybody off, but I want to remind you guys that at one point Bill Gates's reputation had been tainted. I mean, he was known as one of the worst in the country by everybody because of his antitrust and how he built Microsoft into the type of company that it was and what it was beginning to do to people and use people for. So I just want to remind you guys of that. Anyway, Bill Gates is not a doctor, but all of a sudden he has come out as though his way or his recommendations is the way that we should fight this virus. Now, that threw me off a little bit whenever I hear him talking about it. I mean, who is this guy? And what makes him to be in the position that he is, where we all look at him for advice on how we should go about fighting this? Well, I'm about to tell you that. I'm going to answer those questions for you. He has truly positioned himself to be the expert that everybody looks at, including news sources. I mean, they're already writing articles. Right here, we've got an article from CNBC. Talks about Bill Gates calls coronavirus pandemic a nightmare scenario, but predicts a lower death toll than Trump. What puts him in a position to be the expert that says less people are going to die? I'm going to get into that. Here is Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday asking Bill Gates how he thinks this pandemic is going to play out across the United States. Now, I go back to my further statement from before. I mean, Bill Gates is not a doctor. He is not a scientist. He is a computer whiz. He is a philanthropist. But yet, he has put himself in such a position of power that people all over the world are asking him how he feels this is going to play out. I'm blown away by this, because just listen to this.
Fortunately, if we use that well enough, we should, towards the end of this month, start to see those numbers level off.
Trump's top health advisors are talking about somewhere between 100 and 240,000 deaths over the next 2 months. Does that sound about right to you in terms of the lethality and the length of the outbreak here in the U.S.?
Well, if we do the social distancing properly, we should be able to get out of this with a death number well short of that.
You see what I mean? I mean, all of a sudden he's the expert on what everybody's asking. Here's another quick video on how he talks about he believes that the entire country should shut down for 6 to 10 weeks. Now, I don't know about you, but when did I elect Bill Gates to tell us what we should do in our country? Listen to this.
They look at that Chinese data. They look at how the South Korean numbers have gotten under control. So we're entering into a tough period that if we do it right, we'll only have to do it once for 6 to 10 weeks. To do it, it has to be the whole country. It has to be the whole country.
Now, do you see what I'm talking about? He has really put himself in the right position. So I want to remind you that he also gave several speeches that predicted things like this happening. Check this out back in 2015, where he predicted what the next worldwide worry should be.
Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes. Now, part of the reason for this.
Now, you've seen several instances where in my last video, I was able to, or actually might have been my first video, I was able to link Bill Gates back several years to several scenarios where research companies have researched the probability of a coronavirus if it was mutated and how it would affect us as humans, right? So on the screen here, you're going to see Event 201. I know you've heard me mention this before and how Bill Gates is linked to everything that's going on. Well, back in October, let me scroll down a little bit. Right here, October 18th, 2019, this event 201 took place. Let me read this first paragraph here. The Johns Hopkins Center of Health and Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum, which will come into play later also, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted Event 201, a high-level pandemic exercise on October 18, 2019 in New York, which, by the way, is the epicenter here in America for this outbreak. Think about that. Let me let that sink in for a minute. Anyway, the exercise illustrated areas where public and private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Let me just scroll down here. You can see this right here, the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. I find that funny. Right here, the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So what this event was war games with a pandemic. He played out a scenario on what it would take and how the world would respond, supposedly by selling it to us and everyone involved to see if we would actually be prepared. But I find it ironic, and I don't believe in coincidences, not with all the research that I've been doing on all of this, that he did this with all the necessary people involved to, and then not even a month afterwards, the very first case is found. So I'm going to link all this together as I keep going. But remember this, he played this out. The next thing I want to touch on to you guys is Bill Gates is linked to the WHO, the World Health Organization. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Bill Gates calls the shot with the WHO. He really does. And I'm going to link it right here, and I'm going to prove to you just how in bed with the WHO he is. Who, by the way, the WHO is the one who's supposed to be giving the guidelines all across the world to how we're supposed to address this pandemic. So let me just scroll down here. Right here, the very first line says, why the health organization treats Bill Gates like a president. Let me scroll down a little bit here. So let me just point this out to you right here. So right here in the very first part of this article, the WHO is responsible for the World Health Report, the Worldwide Health Survey, and World Health Day. The current Director General of the WHO is Tedros Adhanom, who started his 5-year term on July 1st, 2017. But as we have noticed, there are many negative articles about him as well. And not only Tedros in spooky deals, but also two of his friends, Bill Gates and George Soros, who is also linked to all this. Anyway, going down here, the World Health Organization deals with the health of the world, a noble goal, but the organization has been struggling for decades with a lack of money. Imagine that. The biggest criticism of the WHO is that instead of helping mankind, it supports the economy. But look right here. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has donated more than $2 billion to the WHO since the 90s. Who do you think really runs the show there? Think about that. So the company or the organization that's supposed to be in charge of world health is financed by Bill Gates. I've got some more proof for you. Hold that thought. Here is article number 2 from the nvic.org, right here, posted on January 27th, 2019. And the very first paragraph or statement says, the WHO, Pharma, Gates, and government, who's calling the shots? Check this out. Once again, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is the largest non-state funder of the World Health Organization, having donated more than $2 billion in earmarked grants to the International Health Agency since 1998. And that's not all. Here, the WHO and the U.S. government are founding partners of Gavi. Now, the reason that's important, that name has come up before. I'll remind you of where I found it again here in just a little bit, but let's read down a little bit further. In 2000, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation provided $750 million in seed money to spearhead the creation of Gavi, a multilateral funding mechanism involving the WHO, governments, the vaccine industry, the World Bank, philanthropic foundations, and civil society groups. Right here is the front page of Gavi, who talks about right here on the very front. Look at this. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Gates Foundation pledged U.S. $750 million to set up Gavi in 1999. The foundation is a key Gavi partner in vaccine market shaping. Imagine that. But wait, there's more. And as my old friend Paul Harvey used to say,
the rest of the story.
That's right. Hold on. If you think these vaccines are safe, then I'm here to tell you they're not. And that's the main thing that Bill Gates is promoting in all this. I know you've heard him mention it several times in all the news programs lately with how he thinks that we should fight this by coming out with a universal vaccine. Well, let me tell you what, there's already been a universal vaccine out, and I'm going to get into more of that a little bit later. Hopefully I can get to it on this video. But I don't want to take up everybody's time. If not, I'll just make another one. But listen to this video right here where he himself talks about how vaccines are important to get out. Because yes, they'll reduce sickness, but they'll also reduce the population. And this
Reducing the population growth. Reducing the population growth.
Check this out right here. As reported by VAC News, Gates Money sponsored 30,000 tribal children in India to get an HPV vaccine without their knowledge. Without their knowledge or parental consent. Death and sickness resulted, and 500 children were locked into a school and threatened unless they took meningitis vaccine, which also proved quite harmful, and their parents weren't notified either. So, once again, you guys need to be aware of what's really going on. Here's just one instance of an article where, look at the headline, Gates, Rockefeller, and the WHO concealing the charade of polio eradication. As you go down a little bit further, you can see right here Bill Gates and the Rockefellers, who, by the way, play a big role in this just behind the scenes. The bloodline goes deep. Bill Gates is actually goes way back with the Rockefellers from way back before his dad. Sorry, didn't mean to get off on that. But anyway, the Bill Gates and Rockefellers caused the disaster in India. And the WHO's partners in forcing the vaccine, UNICEF, the Rotary Club, etc., they all continue to lie about this. This is one of the things I was telling you about, where the vaccine actually caused even worse scenarios than the actual sickness itself. I mean, now, having all this talk about vaccines, I'm not going to turn this into any kind of a political thing or anything, but I'm going to talk about Trump for a minute, because here we have a video of Bill Gates where he talks about how he met with Donald Trump twice and this last time was at the White House. And in this video, Bill Gates admits that Trump had asked him twice about looking into the effects of vaccines because Trump didn't feel that they were safe. And wait till you see Bill Gates' response to this. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and I'll be right back.
So March 2017 in the White House. In both of those two meetings, he asked me if vaccines weren't a bad thing, because he was considering a commission to look into ill effects of vaccines, and somebody, his name is Robert Kennedy Jr., was advising him that vaccines were causing bad things. And I said, no, that's a dead end. That would be a bad thing. Don't do that.
I'm sorry. What did you say? Did you just say, no, that's a dead end, don't do that, that would be a bad thing? I wonder why he would say something like that. Do you think it's maybe because he knows how poisonous they are? Not only that, but how about the other things that are about to happen with all these new vaccines coming out? I thought that was interesting, though. I can't believe he said that. But there you have himself admitting it, that he told. Now, mind you, let me reset the stage a little bit here. We have Bill Gates, who has established himself as the expert in vaccines, disease control. Now he's also an expert in what we should do to fight this virus, and how he's telling the administration, the president of the United States, that we need to shut down for 6 to 10 weeks. He has established himself as the Nazi, or as the Hitler of this whole coronavirus thing, going all the way back. But I guess if you create a situation, this is how they get you guys. This is what they do. They create the problem, then they create the solution. Now they've isolated us into self-quarantining, social distancing, stay-at-home orders, to where now we're driving ourselves crazy looking for answers, and we're all looking for the vaccine. But look right here on the screen here. We have an article here that talks about Dr. Fauci, who is the little short doctor that stands up there with Trump, who is also head of the NIH. And then we have Dr. Birx, who Dr. Deborah Birx is the lady that we always see standing up there on the podium with Trump, talking about everything that's going on with coronavirus. And then we have, look right here, Fauci and Birx both have big money, Bill Gates conflicts of interest. Yeah, it's true. This article, once again, is just the one thing I could find that would consolidate all this information together for you guys. But they're all in bed together. And I've got multiple strains of proof on both of it. So let me just get into this article right here. This starts off talking about President Donald Trump. Right here is where I'm at. President Donald Trump is fighting to find a medical solution for coronavirus in the short term, expressing hope in the anti-malaria drug chloroquine or hydrochloroquine, and how it can help patients suffering from the Chinese virus. The truth is, right here, that President Donald Trump is locked in an intense power war struggle with Bill Gates, who is pushing his vaccine, which may not be available to the public until after November's elections. How convenient. Gates has a lot of pull in the medical world, and he has a multi-million-dollar relationship with Dr. Fauci. Yeah, that's true. I'm going to prove that to you right after this article, but let me go on for right now. And Fauci originally took the Gates line supporting vaccines and casting doubt on chloroquine. There you go, guys. And I'm going to, again, I'll link this after this, but I just wanted to point this out. You want to know why there's such a struggle up there with this hydrochloroquine? It isn't because it isn't working. It's because it doesn't fit the agenda of the other people who have a monetary interest in everything going on. Dr. Fauci is in bed with Bill Gates for hundreds of millions of dollars. Let me prove that to you. But in the meantime, I want to go down a little bit further. Coronavirus response team member Deborah Birx appointed a former President Obama to serve as United States Global AIDS Coordinator. Also sits on the board of a group that has received billions from the Gates Foundation. That would be the Global Fund, and I'll prove that to you also. And Birx reportedly used a disputed Bill Gates funded model for the White House's coronavirus efforts. Gates is a big proponent for a population lockdown scenario for the coronavirus outbreak. Now this is where it gets interesting because I want to point this out to you. So right here, next paragraph down is where we're at. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, the NIAID, a division of the National Institutes of Health, WHO, director is Dr. Fauci, who is represented by the RM Speakers Bureau, initially criticized Trump's hopeful assessment of chloroquine, saying in an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper that, quote, "There's no magic drug for the virus right now. Let me put this into perspective for the viewers. There has been anecdotal, non-proven data that chloroquine works." Okay, it gets better. But when you have an uncontrolled trial, you cannot definitively say it works. Then, right here, Fauci changed his tune and launched a public relations campaign huddling closer to Trump, which I believe was a play, and Fauci said that he would definitely prescribe chloroquine for patients. Yeah, of course, quote, "particularly if people have no other option. These drugs are approved drugs for other reasons. They are anti-malaria drugs. They are drugs against certain autoimmune diseases, blah, 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 blah." The point is, Fauci celebrated chloroquine and hydrochloroquine when Obama was president in 2013 and dealing with the challenges of MERS. But now Fauci makes his hostility toward President Trump touted drugs very clear. So he changes his tune to fit the agenda. Here we have the Bill and Gates Foundation website where it talks about the donors and some of the programs that they donate to. So let me just do this for you. So I've got this highlighted for you here on the Global Fund. Global Fund, $750 million right here to the Global Fund. So once again, folks, they are all in bed together. This is a play, a behind-the-scenes working. I've got more, guys. I'll be right back. Look at this headline here. NIH and the Gates Foundation launched the Global Initiative. Let me scroll down here. On October 23rd, the NIH announces plans to invest at least $100 million over the next 4 years. On hand, the announcement for the NHLBIA. I'm sorry, guys. The director, Dr. Gary Gibbons, Dr. Trevor, and so on. The Global Health Program at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and NIH Director Dr. Francis such and such, and the Director Dr. Anthony Fauci participated by phone. Right here, guys. I mean, look at this. $100 million together that they are investing. And that's not all. Here's another one right here. $200 million grant to accelerate research on grand challenges. Let me just do this for you, too. Right here, Dr. Fauci is going to be on the chair for what's going on here. Now this is where right here the groundbreaking public-private partnership between the National Institute of Health, or the NIH, the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are an ideal complement to the NIH's efforts to improve global health. I got a video of something that Dr. Fauci said that I think you guys might find interesting. Here we have a Facebook post. Yeah, I know it's a Facebook post. And you know me, I don't ever take anything for what's written. What I do is research it after the fact. So I saw this Facebook post, and I thought this was pretty interesting. Right here, Fauci, no doubt Trump will face surprise infectious disease outbreak. And it goes on down through this article. So that made me wonder if this is even true. So I did a little digging and came across this right here. This article right here talks about Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci both said years ago Trump would face a surprise global disease outbreak. Okay, sounds pretty implicatable, right? Well, let me just get on down to the video here. I'm going to play this video for you guys and show you guys for yourself.
Given, as you heard from the introduction, that I have been around for a while and have had the opportunity and the privilege and the pleasure of serving in 5 administrations, I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today, is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why history.
You heard it from his own mouth. A surprise outbreak. How in the effing how about what the chuck is really going on? How would you be able to predict a surprise outbreak? No more surprise, I would have to say, wouldn't you guys? So let me get onto this a little bit further. So now I want to talk a little bit more about Bill Gates. Now that I've linked all these, well, not everyone, but a lot of the people together, I want to show you what I found on Bill Gates' foundation's website. Right there in front of you. I mean, they're not even trying to hide this shit anymore. Excuse my French. Right here. Bill and Gates Melinda Foundation, Vaccine Development and Surveillance Strategy Overview. I'm not going to go into the whole article because the title speaks for itself. Vaccine Development and Surveillance. Yes. And here we go. Do you guys remember me talking about ID 2020? Well, after looking into all of the vaccines and the surveillance that Bill Gates talks about on his foundation website, I wanted to figure out exactly what the platform was going to be. It goes right back to my original video talking about ID 2020. Right here in your face. This is how this is going to all play out. So, how convenient did they come out with a flu-like sickness right in the middle of a flu season? They're padding the numbers, and I'll prove that on my next video because I'm gonna go into all of that on the next one. But the numbers are not correct. But they are scaring the shit out of everybody so that everybody looks to them for the reason. Bill Gates has got his face plastered all over this about coming out with vaccine. He's pushing the vaccines. Well, anyway, let me go into this a little bit. So on the screen here, you'll see ID 2020 Partners Launch Program to provide digital ID with vaccines. Well, this is what I really. The Alliance Partners for ID 2020, right here on the screen. Now, these are the names that I want to point out to you. I had mentioned to you earlier this name right here. If you can see where my pointer is, Gavi. Remember me mentioning them before? The Bill Gates Foundation set up Gavi along with the U.S. government. They partnered together to set up Gavi. Go back in the beginning of the video and you'll find that information that I shared with you guys about that. We've got the Rockefeller Foundation, some of the deepest pockets in the world, who is also in charge of the NWO, the New World Order. I just showed you in the beginning of the video who the face behind all of this really is. President Trump has been against calling a national shutdown, but everybody's been on his case about it. We should call a national shutdown. We should call a national shutdown. Look at this website right here that I just showed you. We have way more things in this world to worry about causing people to die than a flu-like illness. It's just ridiculous the amount of trouble that we have gone through to shut the entire world down. These are the real pandemics right here, people. These are the real things we have to worry about. You have to remember that the media isn't controlled by regular people. The big money controls the media, and George Soros is a big owner of most of the media, and I'll go in that to do. But I want to read something here that I wrote. When you control the information, you control the perception. Then you have complete influence. Once you have controlled the perception, you have complete influence over behavior. Guys, we're on mass house arrest. Here are the numbers right here in front of you of the real reasons people are dying every day. And I realize that what you see and hear on the news is all about people dying every day because of this. Those numbers are not real. And I have proof to back that up as well. Again, I'll put that on the next video. So for right now, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you smash that like button. Share the effing loving crap out of this video so that we can tell everybody else out there what the chuck is really going on.